Hello everybody, welcome. Thank you for joining me here today. My name is Kate. We're going to be moving through a heart opening class today. I'm on the boat, a little bit tight for room, but enough room just to roll out my mat. So all you're going to need for this class today is a mat, maybe a blanket or some extra padding for underneath the knees. I've got a cushion that I'm sitting on to start with, because we're going to meet in a comfortable seat to begin. And there's a train track quite nearby, so if you hear low rumbling, it'll be the train passing. But hopefully it's not too noisy. So yeah, finding a nice comfortable seated position, finding that bit of length in the spine, letting the eyelids soften, maybe the eyes close, letting the shoulders roll back and down away from the ears. An invitation to turn the hands so that the palms are facing upwards, creating that openness in the chest, that softening of the shoulders back and down away from ears. And we'll just take a few moments here to drop into the body, into all of the sensations in the physical body. So just taking a moment to just scan through the body from head to shoulders, down the arms, to the hands, palms, fingertips. What are the sensations there in your hands? Maybe noticing any differences in temperature. Awareness to your heart center, awareness to your belly, awareness down the legs, the thighs, the knees, the calves, the ankles and the feet. Tuning into all of the sensations in the body, all of the senses of your body. And meeting your breath again here. And perhaps there's a little bit of length to the breath now, finding that bit of length to the inhalation. Maybe a sigh out of the mouth as you exhale. And letting your next few breaths follow with that bit of depth, that bit of length. Maybe as you inhale, could you sit a little taller? That sense of lifting, rising up and out of sit bones, and then as you exhale, softening the hips, softening the belly, softening the legs. Nice. And then we'll bring the palms together to touch, and we're going to rub the hands together, so creating some good heat between the palms. And then placing both hands over your heart center and drawing that energy, that warmth, that heat in for yourself, for your practice. And if there's anything else you'd like to call in this space, maybe setting an intention for the class. And that could be something like compassion for yourself, patience for yourself. Maybe love, dropping into what the heart needs. Nice, and then we'll let the hands drop back down, letting the shoulders roll back and down again. Maybe opening the eyes here, and then with your inhalation we'll take the hands all the way up overhead. So reaching up, stretching up, bringing the palms together to touch, and then exhaling, hands to heart center. We'll take that a couple more times. So inhaling, the arms come up, and then exhaling, drawing the hands back to heart center. Lovely. We'll take that once more. Inhaling up and exhaling. Nice. Inhaling to lift and lengthen through the arms. Really reaching up, and then as you exhale, we'll draw up that right hand down to the mat, and then keep reaching up with the left hand. We're going to come over into a side stretch. And then you can kind of press that right hand into the mat to get that opening into the heart, so your gaze might even come up underneath your left armpit. Opening up into the side of the rib cage. If it doesn't feel okay for your head to be lifted, the gaze could be dropped down towards the ground. Breathing into that left side body. Nice, and then we'll rise back up, so reaching both hands up. And then we'll exhale over to the other side, so dropping that left hand down, reaching up with that right hand, and then we'll come over to the left side. And again, opening up into that right side, maybe there's that opening up into the heart, breathing into that space. Lovely, and then inhaling to lift and lengthen, reaching up, maybe your gaze lifts, and then we'll exhale to take it back over to the right side, so dropping that right hand down and reaching up with that left. One breath here. Inhaling back to center, reaching up, stretching up, and then exhaling over to the left. One breath here. Inhaling back to center. And we'll take that once more each side. So as you exhale, right hand can drop down, reaching up with the left hand. Taking one lovely big breath here, maybe a sigh. Inhaling up. And then exhaling over to the other side, dropping that left hand down, reaching over with that right. One breath here. And then inhaling back to center, reaching both hands up, bringing both hands together to touch, exhaling hands to heart center. And then we'll just drop the hands back to the knees for a moment, maybe closing the eyes, noticing any sensations down the arms. Nice, and then we're going to come to a tabletop. So I'm going to move this cushion out of the way. And coming over to all fours, so you can have hands underneath shoulders and knees underneath hips, spreading the fingers nice and wide, and then we'll find a nice big breath in here, so breathing in through the nose, and again maybe a sigh out of the mouth. And could you find that bit of softening into the lower back perhaps? And then with your next inhalation, we'll let the belly drop down to the ground, lifting the chest and lifting the gaze up. Keep the shoulders moving away from the ears. And then as you exhale, pressing the floor away, chin to chest, tucking your tailbone under. Inhaling to let the belly drop, lifting the chest, lifting the gaze up. Exhaling, chin to chest, pressing the floor away, tucking tailbone. Inhaling. And exhaling. So starting to move with your own breath through these shapes. Maybe seeing if there's any other shapes you want to find here. So that could be that spiraling out through the shoulders, through the hips. Anywhere that your body wants to go. We're kind of really focusing on that area of the heart. We'll find about 3 more rounds of breath here. Lovely, and then coming back to your neutral spine, we'll bring the big toes together to touch, setting the hips back to the heels and walking the arms out long in front, dropping forehead down to the ground. There's a boat chugging past, if you can hear it. So dropping down into your extended child's pose. Softening the heart down, and maybe that sense of kind of breathing into the back of the heart here. Breathing into the back of the body. and then coming up onto your finger pads, so you kind of lengthen out through the undersides of the arms, maybe feeling that stretch down into the sides of the body, and then we'll walk both hands over to the right side, so you open up into the left side, breathing into that left side. And then walking both hands back through centre and over to the left side. And breathing into that right side. And then walking both hands back through to centre, pressing the palms down into the mat to draw yourself back up through to your tabletop. And then from here we'll tuck the toes under. We're just going to hover the knees a few centimetres away from the ground. And then starting to shift the hips high, coming into your downward facing dog. So you can have hands underneath shoulders, feet about hip distance apart, maybe a little shake out through the head and neck, maybe a pedal out through the feet. Seeing what this upside down shape feels like. Nice, and then slowly we'll drop ourselves all the way back down towards our tabletop position. From here, keeping that left hand to the ground, we'll reach that right hand up towards the sky, so opening up, taking a breath in, and then as you exhale, we'll thread that arm through, so coming down to rest on your right shoulder, right side of the face, and that left hand can stay underneath your left shoulder. You could walk it out long in front, you could send it to the sky, or you could find a bind, so dropping your left hand either down towards the lower back or reaching around and grabbing a hold of your right thigh, and then we'll keep opening up into that left shoulder. Meeting your breath here. Nice, and then unravelling, so that left hand can come back underneath left shoulder, pressing down to peel that right hand all the way back up to the sky, reaching the fingertips up. Exhaling to release. Back through to your tabletop, and then we'll take it over to the other side. So the right hand can stay to the ground, and then we'll reach up with that left, opening up, inhaling. And then as you exhale, we're going to thread that arm through, and then coming down, going to shuffle forward slightly, coming down to rest on the left side. And then again, any variation with that right hand, so you could keep it where it is. You could walk it out in front, you could send it to the sky, or dropping the hand behind the back, and then finding that bind. So maybe that right hand reaches all the way around to grab a hold of the left thigh. And breathing here, opening up into that right shoulder. Nice, and then we'll release, unravelling. Right hand can come back underneath right shoulder, pressing down, peeling that left hand all the way back to the sky, reaching up. Exhaling to release, coming back to your tabletop. Nice. And then we'll tuck the toes again, lifting the knees, sending the hips high to your downward facing dog. Maybe having a nice stretch out through the legs. Maybe finding stillness here and just meeting your breath, drawing your chest to your thighs, lengthening through the spine. Nice, and then slowly we'll lower all the way back down to the mat. We're going to come into our puppy pose, our heart melting pose here now. So from tabletop, keeping the knees underneath the hips, we're going to walk the hands out in front. So you're dropping the heart space down to the ground, dropping either the forehead down towards the ground or towards a block, or you could drop your chin down to the mat, so get more of an opening into the throat. That might feel quite intense on the shoulders, so you can always just keep the forehead down. And letting the heart soften down to the ground here. Maybe coming back into that intention if you set one. Or just noticing the sensations of this shape in your body right now. Nice. Taking about 3 more rounds of breath here. And then gently starting to walk the hands back up to center. And maybe just taking a moment to let the spine reset in your tabletop shape. And then we'll bring the big toes together to touch, dropping the hips back towards the heels. Walking either the arms out long in front, or it might feel nice to bring the knees together to touch, and then you can bring the arms down by the side, so softening into the shoulders, and the forehead can come down to the mat or maybe to a pillow or a blanket. Nice. And then wherever you are, we'll start to walk the hands back up. And we're going to meet in a kneeling position. So if it's not comfortable to be kneeling, you could come to be seated on a pillow or finding another shape on the ground. And then we'll interlace the hands. So nice big breath in. We're going to press the hands all the way up to the ceiling. And then as you exhale, sweeping the hands back behind you, interlacing fingers, and then drawing the knuckles down towards the ground. So you're going to open up into the chest. Nice big breath in. As you exhale, releasing, interlacing hands, inhaling, pressing the palms up towards the ceiling. Exhaling to sweep the hands back behind you. Careful, be careful not to hit the fire. Interlacing fingers, opening up into the chest. Nice big breath in. Exhaling to release. We'll take that one more time. Interlacing hands, inhaling, pressing all the way up to the sky. Exhaling to release, sweeping the hands back behind you. Interlacing hands, opening up into the chest. Exhaling to release. Nice. Hands back underneath the shoulders. Coming back to your tabletop, we'll tuck the toes under, lifting the knees, sending the hips high. Downward facing dog, having a nice stretch out. And then gaze towards the hands. We're going to tiptoe the feet up to meet the wrists. So coming into a forward fold at the top of your mat. You could take a hold of either elbow, letting the head hang nice and heavy. You could have a bend into your knees, so legs don't have to be locked out straight. And letting gravity do all of the work here. So that kind of feeling of the spine lengthening, stretching into the hamstrings. Nice, and then we'll release the hands down to the ground. So we're going to keep that right foot in front, and then one nice big step back with that left foot. So dropping down onto your left knee. If you want any extra padding, maybe rolling up your mat, if you've got a mat or a blanket or something. So getting nice and strong through the legs here. Get the sense of driving the hips forwards, grounding down through that front foot, maybe coming up towards that right thigh. But really kind of trying to squeeze the glutes here, so strong through the legs. And then if you're feeling steady there, we can take the hands up towards the ceiling and then sweeping the hands behind the back. Inhaling, opening up into the chest, so interlacing hands again. Opening up into the heart, breathing here. Drawing the shoulders back, imagining drawing the shoulder blades in towards each other. Nice. And then we'll release. So bringing the hands back down to the ground, tucking your left toes, lifting that left knee, and then we'll step the right foot back to your downward facing dog. Stretching out through both legs. And then tiptoeing the feet up to meet the hands again, coming back into your forward fold, letting the head hang nice and heavy, Maybe grabbing a hold of either elbow, softening all the way down to the crown of the head. And then hands release down to the ground, keeping that left foot forwards. One nice big step back with that right, and we'll drop down onto our right knee here. So be setting yourself up in this lunge. You could keep your hands to the ground. You could take your hands up towards your left thigh, strong through the legs. Maybe then taking the hands up to the sky. And then maybe sweeping the hands all the way to behind the back, interlacing fingers, and then opening up into the chest. Opening up into the heart. Breathing here. Drawing the knuckles down towards the ground. Nice, and then we'll release. Coming back down to frame that foot, tucking your right toes under, lifting your right knee, stepping that left foot back, coming back to your downward facing dog. Stretching out through the legs. Nice, and then from your down dog, we're going to shift forwards towards high plank. So shoulders over the wrists, body in one long line. You can drop straight down onto your knees if you want, or lowering down all the way to the ground. Untucking the toes, we're going to slide the forearms forwards. So we'll have our hands underneath shoulders, sorry, not our hands, our elbows underneath shoulders. And then you could take your feet a little bit wider than hip distance. So we're pressing the tops of the feet into the mat, engaging the glutes, softening into the lower back, rolling the shoulders back and down. Heart draws forwards. Softening down into the belly. And then maybe dropping chin down to the chest here. Keep drawing the shoulders back and down. And then maybe there's a gentle rock of the head from side to side. And just giving yourself a little bit of time in this shape. Coming back to your heart center. And then you can either stay here, this might feel like enough. If you want to come into a deeper back bend, you could lift the head, the gaze back to center. We're going to press into the palms, and then you can lift the elbows away from the ground. So coming up into your seal, keeping a bit of softness at the elbows. A slight engagement of the glutes. Breathing here. Noticing, are you holding on to any tension in the jaw, around the eyes? Nice. And then we'll all lower back down to elbows if you had lifted. And then we'll lower heart and head down to the mat so we can make a pillow for our forehead with our hands. And letting the whole of the body soften down to the ground. And there might be a little wiggle of the hips from side to side, so getting that softening into the lower back. Nice, and then we'll bring the hands underneath the shoulders, pressing hips back to heels, bringing big toes together to touch. Coming back into your child's pose, walking the arms out long in front, softening the forehead down to the ground. Nice, and then we'll walk the hands back up to meet the knees. And we're going to drop over onto sit bones. And we're actually going to come down to the ground now. So if you want to, I'm going to grab a jumper, grabbing any extra layers because we'll be on our backs now for the rest of the class. So yeah, we'll shuffle up to the front of the mat, and then we'll give the backs of the legs a nice hug. So you're hugging everything in, giving yourself a squeeze, maybe dropping chin to chest, softening the shoulders back and down. And just starting to tune into any sounds you can hear in the room. Be the sound of your breath, dropping that awareness, that attention into the body again, into your internal world. And then we'll release that hold of the legs, and we're just going to roll all the way back down to the ground. And come down nice and slowly, and then dropping the head and the shoulders down to the mat. And from here we'll bring the soles of the feet together, so letting the hips open. And it might be nice to bring the hands down to the lower belly. If that feels a bit intense on the hips, you could put cushions or bricks if you've got them underneath the thighs for some support. Or you could bring the soles of the feet to the mat and then dropping the knees together. Otherwise we'll pause here for a few rounds of breath. And encouraging that softening, that sense of release to move throughout the whole of your body. Tuning in with that movement of your breath, that journey of the breath in and out of the body. Nice. And then we'll just slide the hands down to the outsides of the thighs, and we'll draw the legs together, and then all bringing the feet maybe a little bit wider than mat distance, and then we'll let the knees drop in towards each other, so softening through the hips, softening down into the belly. And then you could have the arms down by the sides. So releasing into the lower back, softening into the heart, and coming into our Shavasana from here, so our final relaxation. So however you'd like to take this could be in the shape that we're in. You could take the legs out long, maybe the arms down by the sides or the hands resting somewhere on the body. Whatever feels like the most comfortable space for you. And we'll take about 5 minutes here, and of course always option to pause this video and take as long as you want in Shavasana. Fall asleep if you like. But otherwise, in this space, I'm going to guide you through a body scan. So getting really nice and comfortable on the ground. If you want to grab any extra blankets or layers, please do. Closing down the eyes or softening the gaze. And then we'll bring the awareness to the top of the head, awareness to the forehead, Awareness to the eyes, softening eyelids. Awareness to the cheeks and the jaw. Awareness to your teeth and your tongue, down the throat. Awareness to the shoulders, the backs of the shoulders. Awareness to your heart center. Maybe pausing in that space, coming back to intention, maybe. And then we'll bring the awareness to the right upper arm, right elbow, right forearm and wrist, right hand and palm and fingertips. Awareness to the left upper arm, left elbow, left forearm and wrist, and hand and palm and fingertips. Awareness to the right side of the body, the left side of the body. Awareness to your lower belly. Awareness to the back of the body from the top of the spine all the way down to the base of the spine, the muscles either side of the spine. Awareness to the right thigh, and the back of the right thigh, and the right knee, and the back of the right knee, right shin and calf and ankle, and the top of your right foot, and toes, and the sole of your right foot. Awareness to your left thigh, and the back of the left thigh, left knee, back of the left knee, left shin, calf, ankle, top of the left foot, toes, and the sole of the left foot. Awareness of the whole of your body, from the top of your head all the way down to the soles of your feet. Every single part of you in between. Softening around all of your edges. And feeling heavy and supported by the ground beneath you. Coming back to your heart center. Coming back to intention, the wish of your heart. And then slowly bringing your awareness back to your senses. What can you hear in the room? What sensations can you feel on your skin? Coming back to your breath. And then nice and slowly beginning to find some movement again through the head, through the hands, through the feet. And eventually maybe bringing the arms all the way up overhead so you have that nice full body stretch. And then hugging the knees up to the chest. And then dropping over to one side, and we'll come up to a comfortable seat to finish the class together. So giving yourself just a moment or two to arrive back in this space. Maybe the palms facing upwards, resting on the knees. Opening up into the shoulders, into the chest. Giving yourself a moment to tune in, check in with yourself. How are you doing? And we'll bring the palms together to touch here. And rubbing the hands together again, creating some good heat between the palms. And then placing both hands over your heart. Drawing in that warmth, that energy, that intention into your body. Feeling that energy, that life moving throughout your body. And then we'll let the chin bow down to the chest, so dropping the head down. In gratitude to this practice. And we'll finish there, everybody. Thank you so much for practicing with me today, wherever you are. I really appreciate you being here, and keep following for more videos. And if you have any feedback or anything else you'd like to let me know about what kind of classes you'd like to see, I'd love to hear from you. It's always a pleasure. So thank you very much, and hopefully see you in a video very soon.